This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, O'Brien becomes a full character.
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that is a perfectly ordinary, average day. Nothing interesting or weird happening at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just
nice and boring.
Yeah, very boring. We don't need to talk about it. My name is Gep, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host, Dr. Izix.
Hi!
And this week we get to look at everyone's favorite neurodivergent stand-in character and the way he thinks about people.
You, Gepwin?
Yes.
Okay, just so we're clear.
I'm the neurodivergent stand-in.
Or would it be me? I don't know.
Together we make one full neurodivergent person.
There we go.
There we are. So this week we have Data's Day, which is one of those little fun episodes with fun stuff. There's also terrible, potentially world-ending shit happening, but we don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun episode about Data.
Well, there's also sort of the general issue at the Star Trek characters kind of run into world-ending stuff all the time, so they're nonplussed about it.
Yeah, damn.
Well, I guess maybe next time we'll not get so close to disaster.
As they say, sometimes you get the bear. I've never heard that phrase outside of this episode. Sometimes you get the bear, and sometimes the bear gets you. Who says that?
People who hunt bears?
Is this one of your weird Alaska idioms, Riker?
Wait, I heard today that there is a recall for a specific type of chocolate syrup involving bears.
What now? Does it attract bears?
I don't think so. I think it's just chocolate syrup with a funny name.
Oh.
It's called boner bears. Anyway.
Chocolate syrup for bears.
Yeah.
You know the ones I mean.
Excellent.
This episode was written by Harold Apper and Ronald D. Moore. I'm not going to talk about Ronald D. Moore again because we've talked about him a lot and he shows up a lot. So
yep.
Harold Apper wrote for soap operas. One of his main things was something called Ryan's Hope and several episodes of Stingray, then The Golden Girls, and Walker, Texas Ranger. Mm-hmm. He's got an IMDb. He's one of those guys. He has an IMDb, and I can read the IMDb.
Wrote for Earth Final Conflict, which, if you've not seen that show, it's a mix of interesting and confusing for me. But then again, I never saw it in order.
I kept seeing it pop up and going that looks like an interesting show, and then I'd watch some of it and go, I guess I need more context for this, and then I'd never try again.
Yeah. Fortune Hunter. Wrote an episode.
Did they ever find it? The end is just fortune. I am rich now.
We found out that we were fortunate the entire time.
The fortune was the friends we made along the way.
Because they're made out of gold.
I did think he wasn't very talkative and heavy.
Yeah, but I needed a partner for this adventure, but it turns out he was made out of gold the entire time. Weird.
So, we have guest stars. We have too many stupid-ass guest stars because I have to read a bunch of names, and I hate doing that.
Names, they are mean.
Yes. This episode introduces fan and series favorite Rosalind Chow as Keiko Ishikawa? That's probably more how you say that.
I think.
Ishikawa. There we go. Chow began acting very, very early. She had a breakout role in the final episode of MASH and then was cast as the same character in the spin-off series After MASH, which is such a terrible name for a show.
There's always Trapper John, MD. She could have been in that instead.
Yeah. She also auditioned for the role of Tasha Yar, which I really wish happened.
Yes. Denise Crosby is awesome, but Keiko as Tasha Yar, that would completely change some of the general dynamics that played out throughout the
it'd be pretty interesting. It would also possibly, if anybody else did get cast, they might not have left during the first season.
Indeed.
And then you would never even know what to do with Worf, and then what would happen?
Well, maybe he'd go do some honor stuff, and that would lead the Enterprise into a weird plot involving some non Duras sort of Klingons doing dishonorable things.
I do kind of wonder, just like on an actor level, there's been a few people who've gotten guest stars or other things here, and several of the people like auditioned to play Tasha Yar and then didn't get it. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wonder what all of them thought halfway through the first season. Like, she didn't even want the job. I didn't get cast and she leaves.
Yeah, this is awkward. Sounds like she was having a terrible time, but also, jeepers, come on, I would have had a job.
Anyway, Chow's going to continue to play Keiko on many more episodes of Next Generation, and then becomes one of the mainstays on DS9.
Yep, where she kind of becomes the second most suffering character in all Star Trek because she's married to Chief O'Brien.
Yep. Suffer by proxy.
Yeah. Well, she also gets, like, mind-possessed at that one time, and anyway.
Yeah. The whole thing's a bit... DS9's very, watch these characters suffer, you.
Oh, she also played a character in the movie North. Remember that?
North what?
Just North.
Oh, just North. It's the prequel to North by Northwest.
No. It's a movie about a kid who wants to not have his parents anymore, so he goes shopping around for new parents.
Never heard of this. Like, it sounds like the plot to a lot of dumb movies, but
it's a dumb movie. Yeah, it's. I've seen parts of it, and it was ridiculous. So. Okay.
Cool.
It's sometimes referred to as one of the worst movies ever. So
that's some running. You've got some running for that one.
Yeah.
So I also have Sierra Peacher. I'm not pronouncing that right, but so what? Playing T'Pel. She's got a 30-year acting career. Had early roles in westerns, like something called Apple's Way. I don't know a lot about westerns. I'm sorry. Yeah. I hope Apple had a good time.
Yes, and got their way.
Yeah. She also features in a lot of TV movies and shows that I haven't really heard of. One's called The Summer of Fear. Another one's called Friendly Fire and Ghost Dancing.
I've never heard of any of these. Neither have I heard of This Child Is Mine.
I mean, I've heard of that. There's like a song. No, that's This Child of Mine.
Yeah. Maybe that's where Guns N' Roses got the idea.
And she's had guest roles on a lot of random other shows. NYPD Blue, Quantum Leap, etc. There's a lot. She's been acting for 30 years.
Touched by an angel. I hope she avoided the touch.
Show me where the angel touched you.
Yes.
I have Alan Scarfe as Mendak. That's his first appearance on Star Trek. He's going to play another Romulan and then a military dude on Voyager.
Yep. Shows up occasionally. And another one of those sort of habitual guest star characters here.
Did Canadian dramas originally. Something called Murder by Phone.
Dial M for murder, but not without the M or something?
Yeah, just without the M. Don't dial M for murder.
Okay.
And Walls. Short and simple. Walls.
Yeah. Don't be confusing that with The Wars.
And other things you probably haven't heard of unless you're Canadian. So apologies to Canadians. He was on some TV shows like The Littlest Hobo and Ray Bradbury's Theater and MacGyver and also Quantum Leap.
Stargate Atlantis. Babylon 5, The Lost Tales.
Did they find those tales?
I think so, because they're in The Lost Tales. Over here, over there.
And just for fun, we have Shelley Dicey, who plays Visal, everyone's favorite Bolian barber.
Yes, it's Mr. Mott.
He was on Saint Elsewhere, so he's been in everything. Literally everything ever.
Including Star Trek again, because there's also connections back to Star Trek.
Yeah, he was also more intentionally on the A-Team and DR. And is best known for his roles on Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Men of a Certain Age, which are two shows I am aware of but have never watched.
I have seen some It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it's pretty fun. It's basically a show where we're following a group of complete fools who are getting themselves in trouble and don't understand what they're doing, but they're doing their best sometimes.
I've heard of it. Everything I've seen looks interesting. I've just never gotten around to it. I liked their crossover on Abbott Elementary. Yeah,
I've not seen that. As far as Shelley Desai goes, is also in something called Candyland.
Which one?
I don't know. 2017.
There's a board game. There's like a horror movie, I think.
It's a short film, it looks like.
Okay.
NYPD Blue, like everybody else lately. Something called Zoe. Murder One?
Full English movie, Candyland the Great Lollipop Adventure. I don't think that's the one, though.
Project X. I remember that.
There's so many weird things. Anyway, we can get into an actual episode at some point here.
Yeah.
This episode is kind of an interesting, mildly experimental one for this show, because this episode is told entirely from Data's perspective and is framed as him writing a letter documenting a perfectly normal average day to one Commander Maddox, who you may remember as the guy who wanted to tear him limb from limb in Measure of a Man.
Yeah. So clearly Data has no hard feelings, but then again, it's Data. He doesn't get hard feelings.
He doesn't have hard feelings or easy feelings, medium feelings.
Soft feelings, flexible feelings, bouncy feelings. Other kind of feelings
Smooth
are there?
Feelings.
Smooth feelings.
Hard feelings. Rough feelings.
Smooth jazz feelings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he and Riker get along.
Excellent.
So Data begins his day by ending his command of the Night Watch, and since he doesn't sleep, this has absolutely no impact on him doing a lot of other very long and productive things during the day. First thing he needs to do is prepare to be the father of the bride at a wedding between Chief O'Brien and Keiko, who we definitely have heard of and has been here the whole time.
Indeed. So, never, mind that you've completely forgot about her existing up until this very moment. She was here, since Encounter in Farpoint, clearly.
Not only has she been here, she is one of Data's oldest friends on board, and he even introduced them.
Yeah, so she's been highly involved in Data's life this entire time.
So, of course, as soon as Data arrives to see her, she tells him that she's calling off the wedding because it's not making her happy. And Data being Data, he sees absolutely no problem with this and is perfectly happy to go tell O'Brien.
Data, don't fall into the utilitarianism trap.
I feel like people on this show take a lot of advantage of Data.
Yeah. It's like, Keiko, you should know how Data kind of thinks and operates by this point, right?
You wouldn't mind having an uncomfortably emotional conversation for me, would you? Yeah, I didn't think so. Thanks. So he finds O'Brien, who's getting ready for the wedding in 10 Forward, where they're going to be having the ceremony, and Data tells him the good news that Keiko's made a decision to improve her happiness by calling off the wedding, and O'Brien is unhappy.
Yeah. Wait a moment, the net happiness is not increased from this all event. Because Keiko only became mildly happier, as opposed to O'Brien being now ragingly unhappy.
Yep, utilitarianism just doesn't math.
Yes.
Tori tells Data he should probably handle giving people good news from now on.
Yeah, you're bad at this. Maybe just let us take over until, you get a motion chip or something.
Data also has to go meet Ambassador T'Pel, who's coming on board for reasons.
The ambassador, that's like a pretty important person. Picard will probably be there, right?
Yeah, probably. It's weird. Sometimes the captain goes and meets people, and sometimes it's not plot relevant.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess not today.
T'Pel, being a Vulcan, skips all pleasantries and immediately wants to be taken to the captain, where she tells Riker to get the hell out and leave Picard alone.
Okay. Well, that was awkward.
Riker's sarcastic about it, and Data makes a point to recognize that he is in fact being sarcastic about it.
Yes. Apparently, Data is like, Vulcans have an interesting perspective on how to operate and things like that. But apparently this is biffed off Riker today. I should take note of that, maybe.
So Data goes to hang out with Geordi, who's getting his hair cut, and he and the barber make fun of each other as a form of male bonding. Data tries making fun of Geordi by calling him a lunkhead, which isn't really good-natured riffing, but is funny.
Yes. If Data, I guess this is a good attempt, but you should really maybe have at least on theme for you. Like, call Geordi a broken neural link or something like that. Or
meat sack.
A meat sack or a short-term entity.
So they talk about the wedding for a bit. Geordi's not worried because humans just, do shit like this, so it's going to be fine.
Yeah, we've all seen TV before, even though TV doesn't exist in the future. There's always going to be a emergency, call the wedding off, and then everything ends up okay at the end, right?
Yeah, that's just wedding. It's traditional. They aren't doing this because they are having any kind of thing. This is just how human weddings are in the future.
Yeah. You need the bride to have a little break before things happen, and the groom is always going to be caught off guard by it.
Then he tells Data that he needs to go get a gift because the wedding's definitely on, which brings us to Worf, who's looking at wedding glasses since he knows what to give humans because his adopted parents went to human weddings on Earth.
Yeah, and it's also Worf kind of doing I just kind of get everyone the same thing sort of thing. Yeah.
They do get, it's not very long, but they do get to have their best little thing in here. It's like, this is what you bring humans at weddings. Like, oh, I see.
Would have been funny, to have a bit where they're, they looking at the gifts as they are opened and things like that later, where, it's like this giant box from Data, and it is a drinking glass. A drinking glass that's 4 feet tall.
No, it's just a giant glass swan boat thing.
Yeah.
Gravy boat. The world's biggest gravy boat.
But yeah, in this moment, there is some good observations. Like maybe it should reflect you so that they can actually kind of remember that this is a gift from you.
I just like how that's met with complete disdain and silence.
Yeah,
it's like usually a gift reflects the giver. This does not remind me of you.
Maybe if I broke it.
Moving on. And Worf says he doesn't like human weddings because there's too much crying and dancing. And Data goes, oh no, dancing. I forgot a thing.
Going to have to remedy this.
So this brings us to Crusher. I do like the first part of this episode because it's a very I talked to this friend who told me a thing I need to do with this friend who told me a thing I need to do with this friend. It's very flowy.
Yeah. And at a certain degree, it kind of suggests that Data's life is like an endless quest sort of thing from a video game.
Yeah.
Where, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to lead one thing into another, and, I might have some downtime at some point, but for the moment, I'm going to be, looking up the next thing in the logical series of events here that interlinks all these people that I know.
So Crusher apparently won an award for Jazz and Tap when she was at a previous assignment somewhere. And so she'll teach him, but keep it quiet because no more dancing doctor nicknames.
That's reasonable, I suppose. Jazz and Tap. I wonder if that will be any use at a wedding.
It should be. They should have done that.
Yeah.
He is told by Picard and T'Pel that he needs to analyze the Romulan positions along the neutral zone. And then they start heading toward the neutral zone. Data says it's a really good thing he doesn't have emotions, or this would be really worrying.
Yep. Yeah, this is totally not a suspicious thing at all.
I do like the insights in this one. This episode gives a lot of it's a good thing I'm not worried, or I would be really worried. Right, guys?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with this. I just recognize, in intellectual fashion that everyone else is going to have emotions about this, but I'm fine. Why is my finger doing a thing?
Later on, Data gives his report that the Romulans are aggressive and don't like the Federation because they're aggressive. It's the whole Cold War thing.
Yeah.
So, same as always, I guess.
Yes. And they are they will be in an aggressive stance if we encounter them. So, be on the lookout for aggressiveness.
Picard starts trying to tell T'Pel that her plan's dumb, but then they get cut off because Data's there. I'm like, no, leave. We can't talk about this around you.
So, apparently Data's not a high enough clearance for this conversation. Dang.
Data then goes to take care of his cat Spot, who we have definitely seen before, because he's had a cat, and will definitely be the same gender the next time we see them.
Yep, totally.
Trans cat.
Yes. Because TV and Spot's not always in every single episode. They're like, well, we just kind of need an orangish cat that is generally not a kitten. Okay, so.
But then later, we need the cat to have babies, so.
Yeah. So, we're going to just kind of change out the cat, and suddenly there you go.
O'Brien comes to talk, and Data tries to make him very comfortable because he offers him drink and food and pillows, and I could construct a new, more ergonomic chair if you would prefer.
No thanks, Data. I want to stand up, but the chair. Oh, okay, I'll sit. This is getting awkward.
O'Brien's just here to apologize for being upset before and ask if Data could go talk to Keiko about the wedding since she trusts him. And Data finally agrees to head to the Arboretum because maybe she's just not considering all the possibilities.
Huh. Like, maybe this is kind of surprising and stressing everyone out too. Maybe she had months to think about this beforehand, and maybe she actually does love, Miles O'Brien. Maybe, hopefully.
So he comes and posits that Keiko wanted to call off the wedding because it would make her happier. But she is not, in fact, happier. Therefore, her decision-making process may need re-examination.
This is a bold move, but I don't think it's going to work out for him, Cotton.
I do love this one overall because it's so... It makes so much sense. It's like, it's my decision. It's like, yes, we're not disputing that it's your decision. You just might have made the decision badly.
Like, oh, so you think I'm bad at making decisions now. Great.
So she tells him to get out.
Reasonable.
So Data seeks out Troy because, he doesn't understand why everyone is mad at him all of a sudden.
Like, well, this is maybe a little stressful for them and probably not thinking clearly for things. And so you coming in here with, clear thinking that is trying to manage their excuses for why they're taking actions that are maybe not fully grounded in what they're actually thinking and feeling is going to cause conflict because, well, there's a lot more going on here than you can sort of pick up right now.
So Data does they're both talking to me. Why don't they talk to each other? Troy's, well, that's a very good question. It's like, it's not. It's because they're straight people, Data.
Yeah.
Straight people don't talk to each other.
Especially humans. And
I'm not entirely convinced straight people like each other.
Yeah, it's weird, You think they would.
You'd think so. They keep going on about it.
It's like, maybe if you want to spend your life with somebody, you should be spending it with someone you actually like.
I don't know. Like during the lockdown, everyone broke up because they're like, shit, I have to spend time with the person I'm married to. Oh, God.
Whoops. Maybe this whole sharing my life with someone that I was...
Sharing my life with someone worked out fine when I only had to spend 15 minutes a day with them.
Yeah, you show up for the whoopee and then you're good, right?
Yeah. Or not, I don't know. That's another thing straight people don't seem to like.
You thought you were in it for the sex, but you're not even doing that. What's up?
But then you weren't for some reason. Troy says it's best to leave them well enough alone and just watch from the sidelines like the straight people do.
And, it'll probably work itself out. This is a TV show after all.
Yeah. So Data asks what the point of marriage is, and Troy goes, well, it's about sharing your life and getting old together. And Data gets depressed and goes, oh, I could never get old with someone. Troy goes, oh, shit, I didn't consider the android's feelings.
Android's feelings. Am I not supposed to consider them? Is this actually okay? Oh, gosh. I'm sorry, Data. Huh.
So before they can have an existential crisis about it, DePel calls Data to her quarters.
So maybe he's finally getting read into the situation because,
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he can't lie, and he can be ordered to never tell anybody anything. So.
Yeah.
She wants to know about the important defensive specs of the Enterprise, and she has proper clearance. The Data informs her that he will have to tell the captain that she requested the information even if he gives it to her. So he goes, well, good. That was a test, and you passed.
Okay. You think my service record would have confirmed that
never
already.
Mind. I just wanted to know that. Never mind. Go away. Shush.
Yeah. This is kind of suspicious when you think about it.
Data says it's really good that Vulcans don't lie, or that would be sus as hell.
Then again, Vulcans in Star Trek have lied before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
Yep. They just don't like to.
So for a change of tone now, Data gets to learn tap dancing. Mostly because Gates McFadden is a choreographer, and both of them know how to tap dance.
Yeah. Though there is some foot stand-ins here for a couple bits.
Yeah, because they probably didn't want to have to do the complicated parts.
Yes.
The gist of the whole thing here is Data can perfectly emulate what he sees, so he gets it very fast.
Yes. So just show me the more complicated stuff, and I'll just do that, and we're good to go, right?
But then she finds out that he's planning to dance at the wedding and goes, well, we don't tap dance at the wedding just because. I don't know why. Here, I'll teach you a waltz or something.
All right. So you're supposed to lead me instead of, stepping on my feet. You don't know how to lead. Oh, gosh.
She also does a very bad job of explaining what the fuck leading is, because no one knows. No one knows what leading is. I swear it's made up.
Yeah, it's like you're sort of directing which way you should be going, but also not, because otherwise you're just kind of forcing your partner around, and that gets weird after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And doesn't necessarily mean you're moving with the music even, and there's complicated things here that I can't even understand fully, and maybe that's why I don't ballroom dance.
The whole gist of this is she teaches him how to dance, and she tells him how to smile, so he smiles creepily every time he dances, and this is the joke.
Yep. Side note, Gates McFadden was actually pregnant during the filming of the scene, so she's like, I'm going to be a badass anyway. Let's go.
Data comes back to the bridge where Riker's flirting with a female officer with a bad joke. Picard comes in to order them into the neutral zone, where they meet a Romulan warbird captained by Admiral Mendak. And T'Pel's here to go over to the warbird and start normalizing relations with the Romulan Empire.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool and a little out of the blue. Are you sure you're going to be okay, Madam Ambassador?
Yeah, Picard's uncomfortable with her going alone. She goes, that's illogical, shut up.
Do you want me to send Worf? If someone does anything to you, he'll kill 50 people.
Yeah.
Some of them might be Romulans.
It's probably hard to keep him from killing Romulans, honestly.
Yeah. So, it would be a very good, instant reaction if there's anything suspicious going on here. So, that might be a good thing for your safety.
So she just goes to the transporter room anyway. She starts to transport over, then an unspecified something happens, and the transporter just stops working, and she's dead.
Oh no, it's Star Trek the Motion Picture time all over.
Yeah, but they said something was wrong with that one at the start. They're like, something's wrong with this, but we'll do it anyway, it's fine.
Yeah.
So they can't find anything wrong with the transporter, though to explain this. Mendok's upset because the Federation wanted to kill the ambassador to ruin the peace talks. Ha-ha! Time for you to go.
Well, so specifically Starfleet wanted to ruin the peace talks, and so this could be an attempt to provide a point of leverage between Starfleet and the Federation in total, because, they're not necessarily one and the same.
So Picard offers to go, and he's like, no, we'd only talk to the one person because we're stuck-up pricks, so ha-ha! You're like a Romulan in your scheming.
Yeah. You're so weird about who you'll actually talk to because you have a difficulty trusting people, but also you scheme and show you're untrustworthy at the same time.
Yeah.
So why should we normalize relationships with you again?
So Picard puts Data on the case because there's no way this was an accident. And this gives Data a chance to go, I love Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to go do Sherlock Holmes shit at this.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to leave the pipe to the, back in the quarters, though.
Never mind that Sherlock Holmes doesn't do deductive reasoning. He does inferred reasoning. But
yeah.
He examines the transporter, says there's an Occam's razor happening. Occam razored that thing.
Not to confuse with Occam's ridge. That's a little wider.
He also goes to ask Crusher for analysis of the couple of cells that they found on the transporter pad. And they do match T'Pel's DNA from when she beamed on board. But there's some messed up base pairs, almost like this was replicated material.
The ambassador was a replicant?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The ambassador was a clone. They replicated her, and there we go.
Yeah, that explains everything. Obviously, our ambassador that we sent over was fake. She's hiding somewhere on the ship.
Today reports back to Picard that the only reasonable assumption was for him to look for a second transporter.
Yes. They should really, have some tech to maybe watch out for this sort of thing, especially after this incident, because it kind of happens a few times throughout Star Trek going forward.
But no one would ever do that.
Yeah,
Star Trek is another one of those things where all of their security measures are based on reasonable norms and not actual security measures.
Yeah, Yeah, reasonable norms being violated over and over again. That's not totally something that we have experience with in the United States right now.
No, shush.
Yeah.
Shush, everything's fine. So Romulans used their transporter to beam T'Pel out just before they did, and then beamed fake remains in to make it look like there was a transporter accident.
Sneaky, but well played.
So Picard decides to go chase down the Romulans.
It's time to yell at these guys.
He does. He demands Mintok return T'Pel, who they kidnapped. Mintok goes, well, no one's being held here against their will. My oddly selective way of saying that should tell you nothing.
Yes, I am not lying.
I suggest you leave.
It would have been funny if Troy said, He's being deceptive, but he's not lying.
Also, second warbird. Haha.
Well, you guys having cloaks does kind of mean you have free reign of the neutral zone. This is kind of silly of us to have a neutral zone where, we don't have like weird anti-cloak sensors going on all the time.
Yeah. Them having cloaks mean they could be doing fucking anything they wanted, and it's really weird. The way they present the Romulan Empire, there should be a warbird parked behind the moon at all times, just scanning shit. Like, haha, they will never suspect our plans.
Yeah, it would be, fairly easy given, the various sensor tricks you run into throughout Star Trek to, sneak into the Federation via cloak, set up, your ship, in some magnetic, pinch point or something like that to fool sensors, and then just start beaming down a whole bunch of people and set up a base wherever you like, including on the moon.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah.
We're the Romulans. We stay home. But we'll get you.
Yeah.
We'll get you. You watch out now. Picard's not going to back down. Mendak is not interested in starting a war, so he brings on T'Pel, who's wearing a Romulan uniform and is now Sub-Commander Selak.
You've kidnapped the ambassador and brainwashed her into being a sub-commander and gave her promotion. Wait, moment.
Yeah, that was really fast, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She's been one of their most successful spies, and now she's been returned home. Thanks for the help. Bye now.
It does kind of beg some questions about, if we have someone who is, playing the role of a Vulcan for years on end as a high-end ambassador with, like, fame and, accolades of various sorts about their interactions, doing ambassador stuff with the Federation and making peace treaties here and there. It's almost like there's some sort of, influence on the security side of the Federation there that is given cover for this person, possibly a whole bunch of others. Oh no, there's a massive infiltration of the Federation, Gepwin.
Yeah,
watch out for that.
There's probably like a Vulcan in sunglasses.
Yeah, and climbing the ranks in Starfleet security and a few other things here, and so we got all sorts of zaniness that we have to watch out for.
There's a very bad implication of this with how in the first time they showed up with Vulcans in the original series, or with Romulans, in the original series, they suspected the Vulcan and went, "Oh, you're just like them. Now we can't trust you." And now they've just continuously done yeah, we probably should be looking into that more, honestly. Because there's so many Romulan spies. And
you have this thing where it's like, yeah, we can't really tell the difference between them, like, genetically even, so,
I feel like the Federation knows that the Romulans aren't going to do shit.
Yeah.
Like, they're very powerful. They're just as powerful as the Federation. They have cloaking technology. They could do whatever they wanted most of the time. The Federation is not the kind of government that is going to go, destroy an entire culture in retaliation for shit. Like, the Romulans have every advantage in this situation, and they're sitting home going, "We'll get you one day, haha."
Yep. But it maybe comes down to that a lot of that posturing on their side is a mix of their specific psychology and culture there, but also the authoritarianism at play that we need an outside enemy, and just attacking the Klingons occasionally, it gets kind of boring because it's just like, all right, we're fighting now, as opposed to, actually,
it's kind of
just
the
posturing.
End of the Cold War, which is when this was written. So the Romulans are going to be over there, and they're going to be worrying, but we know they're not doing anything. So we don't really need to worry about it that much.
Even though they were, silent for decades beforehand, and who knows what they were up to that entire time, which is apparently installing an ambassador in the Federation.
They go back to Federation space. Data seeks out Keiko in order to find out why everyone's mad at him, but it's fine now. Why aren't you dressed for the wedding, you silly boy?
Oh, well, that doesn't really answer his questions. It just resolves the whole wedding lot thing.
Yeah. Data's very confused, but it's fine, I guess. They go off to 10 forward.
I guess it's time for a wedding. Here's your giant box.
They have a wedding. Keiko's wearing a cool traditional dress. Picard gets to give a speech about how cool it is that he gets to marry people because he's the captain, and everyone's happy. And Data and Keiko dance, and Data voiceovers about how he doesn't need to try to understand love because he gets it.
Yeah. Love is a chemical reaction between human beings and their emotional centers that is mixing with various instinctual drives, evolution, ... 5 pages later, and that's why me as an android don't have to give a crap.
Yep. Then finally Picard and Data run into each other in sickbay, where Picard's staring at a small baby who was the minor plot going on that didn't get mentioned because someone was pregnant.
Yeah, someone we don't know and we'll never see again was pregnant, and here's their kid.
Yeah. And he goes, while we were in danger, this kid was being born. Really makes you think.
Yeah, oddly enough, makes me think of the birth of Naomi Wildman.
Yeah,
and how there was a big disaster going on during that.
This is when children are born on starships.
Yes,
exclusively.
And then Molly O'Brien was born during the episode Disaster. In fact, we haven't got to that yet.
Yeah, no, not yet. That's a while. We need to introduce like 2 more characters before we can get to there.
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, this is a pretty solid, I guess, denouement.
Yeah. Data ends his day by relieving Worf of the day shift and going back to the night shift, even though I think Data has worked at least 2 of the last 3 crew rotations.
Yes.
Think they're taking advantage of his sleep cycle a little bit.
Maybe Data's official duty time is the night shift exclusively, but they don't mind him just showing up and working whatever he
hangs
feels
around. Like. And does stuff.
Which maybe that's explains something, because remember in the original series, McCoy is like, I'm bored, I'm going to be on the bridge, but Data's normal spot is on the bridge, so when he's bored, I'm going to be on the bridge. She's like, well, okay, you actually could do stuff.
Yeah, he's just bored. He's on the bridge. Data's Day is one of those fun, self-contained episodes that they don't want you to think about too hard.
Yeah, no need for extra sets, really. In fact, they reused the old Enterprise set for the replicator room.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and the barber room, I think, is just another random set spot they have that's like, oh, yeah, we got a couple walls. We don't need a 4th one, so...
Yeah, saves a lot, not having to build that 4th wall.
Yeah, a lot of recycling going in for our unique sets, and we got the Romulan bridge set, sort of, that's mainly just a wall behind a standing up Romulan.
I think since this episode doesn't want you to think about it very hard, I think it gives you a good opportunity to talk about the sort of... It's kind of implicit in the thing, but it's technically an explicit part of Data's character that he is queer, in the show. He is a queer character. Because he's at the very least asexual. I would have to talk to some of my ace friends to figure out whether you could consider him aromantic or not, since he's not interested in romance, but sometimes talks about it.
Yeah. More of the theoreticals, I may wish to pursue this at some point, but yeah.
Yeah. He's just not sex repulsed, so he will have sex with people. He's just not driven to have sex or that interested in sex, but he'll do it with people if they enjoy it.
And in fact, it kind of begs the question, since, that weirdness with Tasha, has anyone just kind of solicited him? And if so, how'd that go?
Hard to say.
Yeah. Would you like to have sex sometimes, Data? You say you're not necessarily driven towards it, but maybe you would like to experience it more.
So I think that this episode shows it off a bit, because straight people keep involving him in their stupid shit.
Yep. And he's like, I don't understand what's going on here. Here's my guess.
They keep on doing it, and he doesn't understand emotions as well as other people part. But I think that there's very something to the queer experience of straight people trying to involve you in their straight nonsense. Especially this. The number of times anyone that I know has talked about relationship stuff, and it's like, oh, there's all these things going on, or I didn't like this part of my last date, or whatever. It's like, have you considered talking to the person about it? It's like, no.
Why not?
Why would I do that?
because that would be reasonable, But apparently you don't want to actually sort things out. You just want to complain. Is that what you want to be doing here, or what? You're not being clear about what you actually want.
It feels like they just want to complain.
Which, to a certain degree, there is anxiety about being in a relationship. Be it just kicking off, or one that's been going on for a while, where you're afraid of being vulnerable, all that sort of stuff. And so there's maybe an impulse to have, sort of an outlet valve for that stress, and it ends up always turning into just kind of complaining about your partner as sort of a habit of how things kind of unroll in these sort of things here culturally. So it's not, maybe if we had other ways to sort of vent our fears and anxieties a little bit better, maybe this wouldn't be like a thing.
So I was kind of thinking about this in context of the episode, because there's so much of this that is so kind of exploitative to Data.
Mm-hmm.
Because they keep on going, why don't you solve my emotional problems, Data? Why don't you go solve my love life? Of course he's going to be amicable and nice, but like even beyond, there's an interesting thing where they keep painting Data as kind of a childlike character who doesn't really understand what's going on, which is a thing with like queer and especially ace people, of the infantilization that you get for not being as interested in sex or straight people nonsense as you should be.
It's like, hey, you are totally safe and a neutral party in all of this, and and therefore you are totally equipped to be able to solve all my problems because you have no motivations one way or the other than being my friend, and so you are totally capable to fix everything in my life and make all my problems go away. And also, all of this is driven because you don't know anything about this really. So you're a clean slate, right?
Yeah, which I think is kind of the thing that sparked me on this line of thinking, was that first interaction with Keiko where she's like, I need to call off the wedding. You wouldn't mind doing this very difficult emotional thing for me, would you? Like, you don't have emotions. You don't understand this. It probably won't hurt you. At the very least, you'll agree to do this thing because you won't find it emotionally awkward.
Yeah. Anyone else I could ask, well, they would have problems with it. Well, we can't have that.
Or even if I had to do it my damn self, which would be the, appropriate thing to do in this situation.
Indeed.
But also, you're not going to tell me to do it my damn self, are you, my good friend?
Yeah, Data, maybe you should just have a general policy of, this seems like some sort of emotional nonsense here, and I need to discourage you from just using me for that. Just in general.
So I think it's kind of just interesting because Miles O'Brien does the opposite. He's not trying to say, I want to avoid this weird emotional thing. He's saying, I am not good at a weird emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, trying to get my partner's friend to talk to her because I'm not good at emotional shit. But then the entire thing is, I'm not good at emotional shit, so I can't get through to her. So let me go to the person who literally can't have emotions.
Yep.
Because they're probably better at emotional shit than me.
So it's like, well, there's a certain, I guess, assumption in all of this that by not being capable of emotion, that you are, as you said, totally prepared for emotional interactions, but you don't have the emotional thinking involved in order to build the interactions in a sensible way. And as such, you're basically setting your friend up to fail. So
yeah,
stop doing that, Miles.
Which just gives me the queer vibes. It gives me that straight people are gonna go, well, yeah, of course I understand you and support you, and I'm going to be a good ally, but go do this thing for me that indicates I don't understand your point of view or way of thinking about or interacting with the world at all. Because everyone's getting such a good ally to Data by understanding all of the stuff that he goes through and not having to think about it, right?
That's maybe a more complicated question than I'm willing to answer, honestly. But there is, a certain amount of not understanding him at all that's going on here. That's maybe the actual problem. They are trying to treat him just like another human, but with specific, differences that they have constructed in their head that maybe aren't realistic in terms of the actual functionality that he has. And that's going to, and so they're maybe well-meaning, but it's going to fall apart as a result.
I think that's the thing. It's well-meaning, and Data is doing so much to try. This is kind of an interesting thing, because Data's trying to integrate with people. He wants to be able to understand what they're doing. He wants to be a little bit more like them. He wants to get along. But the entire time, he's trying to integrate with them. He's not really trying to assimilate.
Like, I want to hang out with you, and there's my quest to be human stuff, but that's really kind of being put together on my own terms and through my own sort of methods here. And so me just sort of jumping fully on into whatever this is is not something I'm functionally able to do. So I am going to, be, part of this society, but I know that I'll probably never, assimilate, fully on my own here because, well, that might not be possible. So I'm not going to really try that side of things. I am going to do my best to fit in as opposed to fully belong. That makes sense. Or did I get that backwards?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, you want to be accepted, but it want to be accepted both ways and get along with people and etc. Not just like, I'm going to become so unnoticeable that you'll forget I'm not like you.
Yes. Like, I still have my differences, and that's, A-okay. So, I have my general pursuits, but there's always going to be something there. I'm now thinking about a future episode where Data does engage in a relationship with someone.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. I feel like they could have written that better.
True, but as one might expect, due to differences in expectations, it's a disaster. So, it's not in the episode Disaster, though. That's different.
There's a different thing he's doing in Disaster, which I think involves being slightly broken.
His head gets removed at one point.
Which happens a lot in later seasons.
Oh, just a head. Don't worry about it. You'd think that, someone building a cybernetic life form would be, not held down to having all the brain parts in the actual head. Distributed network sort of thing going on.
But then you wouldn't be able to take the head off.
Well,
and that's just a key part of androids.
Well, you could always have something like, certain, parts of his personality or functionality are contained in other parts of his body because of a distributed system. But the key parts that we need for this plot, that's all in the head, so it's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe it's just the parts that let you move your arms and legs are in the other parts, and you don't need those when you have the head. Which
could also lead to some hilariousness with your decapitated body going around and doing stuff. It's like, it seems to be adjusting some things for the warp core. Is that safe? Well, I do have extra sensors, not just my eyes. So my body totally knows how to handle this, and made sure to upload a certain program into other sections of my body in order to handle this sort of thing. So effectively, I can be in two places at once, provided someone's willing to carry around my head.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, poor Data in this episode.
Yeah,
but there's also maybe signs that he is experiencing some sort of emotions. They're just not maybe those that are fully analogous to what human beings feel.
Yeah, they don't really let that happen.
Yeah.
They keep having these nods towards it for Data in various things.
Mm-hmm.
And they never really let it get fully explored because they do that stupid thing in the first movie where they go, well, emotion ship now.
Yep. Now we can change things up.
Now we can just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
But the thing that they keep setting up is very explicitly in this, because you're getting more of his internal monologue than normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very clear that he's having emotions and suspicions and things. And part of the kind of sad thing about it as a character in this episode is that he's being told that he's not, to the extent that he doesn't even really believe it himself.
Yeah, like I mentioned the sort of nervous twitch of his finger there. And so the next scene, he's back in his quarters and like doing a self-diagnostic with the implication of like, he is, from his perspective, he's, obviously malfunctioning. He doesn't understand that little twitch is actually a reaction to what he's observing. It's a non-logical reaction.
Yeah.
And so it's, you could be classified as an emotional reaction. It's not registering to him what it is, other than, oh, my finger's twitching. That must mean something's wrong.
Because the whole thing, he goes, I would be really nervous about this if I had emotions. Good thing. Or, I wish that I had an intuition or gut feeling about this super, super suspicious thing that just happened. Too bad I don't.
Well, how about you recognizing that you think this is suspicious? Because, how do you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, but no. No.
Maybe if there wasn't this whole wedding business to be worrying about at the same time, he would have been able to do a more proper introspection, and his conversation with Troy that day would have been all about that instead.
Yeah, which would have been interesting. I think that it was a mistake. We're not going to get it for a little bit, but it was a big mistake to say that Troy can sense his emotions when he's having emotions.
Yeah. There is, of course, the occasional fan theory that Troy's actually just kind of making it all up as things go along.
Yeah, she actually never got her empathic ability back.
Yeah, well, yeah, she did, but she just feels the goodwill feeling from those one aliens, the two-dimensional beings, and that's the only thing she ever feels ever again. Which, it's like, well, I got this, and that's good enough, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's it. Don't worry about it.
I have a hidden tragedy that I'm not sharing with everyone. Oh, this sucks. Man, we're building a more depressing version of Star Trek, aren't we?
Well, it's not our fault. They do this.
Yeah,
this
true.
is what happens when you don't reckon with putting a queer character in your shit.
Yeah.
Do it intentionally or not at all. Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you are not acting with, intention here, then maybe try not to, do stuff that's going to require intention in order to do it correctly. In a horrible twist, it's like Mel Brooks' quote about all the various times he's made fun of Nazis. That if you're not going to be critiquing folks like that, with a certain amount of intention, with your comedy or whatever, you are basically screwing it up from the get-go. So, maybe don't touch that at all.
Yeah, if you're not coming at it with intention, stop.
Yeah. Ronald D. Moore and the company, stop. Just be careful. You're running into traps here.
Well, this is what happened. They keep saying they're not going to put gay stuff on Star Trek because it's the 90s. You're not allowed to have gay stuff on TV, but let's not examine our queer characters at all. Yeah. It's not even a thing. No one could have had that. No one did that. It's not a thing.
Well, I guess maybe for better or worse, Rick Berman doesn't understand what queerness is just in general. So
yeah.
I
think we've determined he is in fact the straightest man on Earth.
I don't know what it is, and
we found him.
Too afraid to find out. And if I see it, I will not see anything. Actually, it'll be like looking at a blank wall.
That's as depressing as I was going to get this episode.
So I suppose there is maybe something to be talked about in terms of the whole spy deal sort of deal here, but it's not super interesting. But it is in terms of linking it to real world stuff. Because, there's occasionally spies that are caught. Sometimes they're caught after the fact. But in terms of how the episode is here, it's not a super big focus. But it is touched upon in a later episode, the drumhead.
Yeah, it's just there long enough to be a thing that happens.
Yeah. It's like, Picard, you screwed up this one time. Well, I was kind of in a jam. You were giving me orders to do what this ambassador said, and it turns out she was a bad person.
Someone needs to be blamed for this.
Yeah. If you don't want terrible things, if you don't want to be involved in terrible things, stop ordering me to do terrible things. Which I guess also kind of explains insurrection.
True.
I guess the other thing is, a little bit we've already talked about is sort of emergence of various, emotions, but also perhaps more generally, intellect in terms of entities out in the universe, that how they perceive the universe one way or another might not necessarily be in tune very well with how we do it. as human beings, sort of critters here, that the perspective might end up so bizarre and alien that we can't recognize it. And unfortunately, Data's kind of using the human filter on his own, set of intelligence / emotions that is, causing a mischief here. And so, if he were to maybe embrace some more of his alien nature, he could maybe be a happier entity.
Yeah, which is why it's very important to not let the straight person thoughts in.
Yeah. If you're not, a straight person yourself, be okay with not being straight and let your own thoughts run the show. Don't be letting the biases of others hold you down.
It's sort of a final thing. It kind of reminds me with you describing that it's sort of an interesting juxtaposition to look at Data as a queer character, not because he was explicitly presented as a queer character in the show, even though he is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But because he's having the experiences that link up with queerness in the world. He is having a queer experience as written in the show, which gives you kind of a different kind, and I might argue maybe a better kind of representation than when they just have, here is a queer person. I said this is our non-binary person. It doesn't do anything. Occasionally they pop up and say, yeah, my pronouns are, and then it affects nothing else in their life.
Okay, so there is something to be said about just having a world where there are, queer characters that are just around generally. But if you are going to be a show that's going to explore things like identity one way or the other, be it a queer identity or the identity of being human, which Star Trek does a lot, you would think you would have a little bit more going on in that department,
So, Rosenkurtz, friend of show, just put out a really good essay on queer romance and player attraction in video games. And I think that he had a very good thing in there of, if you call attention to the fact that something, homophobia or queerphobia, whatever, sexism, whatever it is, if you call attention to the fact that this isn't supposed to exist in your world, and that's why your characters aren't interacting with it in the way that you might expect, it's going to put you on hyper alert for all of the times that you've just copied over real world shit and are demonstrating homophobia or sexism or whatever else is actually happening in your world. You've just chosen not to have it affect this particular person because you don't want to have to write about this person's actual experiences.
Yes. You're borrowing too much from the real world has these downfalls that unfortunately too many writers kind of don't understand is a thing. And, I'm not going to say don't try to borrow real world things over, but you're going to have to modify them at the very least if you want to accomplish a world where, this is a very different status quo as it is here.
I do understand. I don't like it personally, but I understand people saying, I want representation that is just here is a gay person, here is a trans person, nothing else about this matters. It's in a world where nothing about that matters and you can just exist. I'm fine, I see why you might want that. That's going to be a markedly different world than the one this person is writing. Why is it all straight then?
Yeah, getting some a good queer stories out there. Like to see more of that, and not just copy paste elements here. Yeah, you have to. World building takes more than just the aesthetics of whatever thing you want to sort of integrate here. Everything is going to interact with everything else, and you need to be keeping out for an eye out for those consequences, either implied or accidental. That's kind of one of the things I do on this very show. Is this seems to imply this over here.
This is good. This would have to be a big discussion if I ever figure out how to talk about video games in this show. This is what's always bothered me, because there's a trans character in Cyberpunk 2077. And she's held up as good queer representation because trans voice actor, trans character, and then the story is she's just trans. It's great. She can just be trans, and it doesn't affect anything about the way people interact with her or her life. It's I see what you're saying. But in Cyberpunk, why the hell doesn't that affect anything?
Yeah.
This is a world where people change their bodies on a whim. It's a major part of the themes and story. It feels like trans people would have feelings about that.
Yeah, it's like, do you embrace the moddability, or do you feel like kind of let down by society that, everyone else is not seeking their true self when this is a perfect opportunity to do that?
Yeah,
are there becomes a fashion
more
as opposed
trans
to
people? Is it so normal that most people don't use the moniker anymore, and this person feels it's too much a part of their identity, and it's kind of a old holdover? Is there something else going on with you're allowed to change out anything you want except your gender? You can have a full body, you can have your entire body be chrome as long as you kept the boobs you started with, but otherwise it's a problem, or it's not, or what's going on here?
Yeah. There's some
It feels like this is a thing that should affect the thing you're talking about.
Yes. Also, cyberpunk in terms of like a genre, there's, going to obviously involve societal changes from the current point, though maybe not as many at this point than it was in the early 80s. There's still a certain level of, in order for there to be the punk side of things, there needs to be the anti-punk authoritarian stuff that people are being punk against. And how that is going to be manifesting is going to be, coming in various avenues. And to say that it is not touching this particular one completely, everything's A-okay now, is maybe a little naive.
Authoritarians have always hated queer people. Yeah. So you're going to have to tell me why these authoritarians suddenly think we're fine.
It's like, if, it is, quote, fine from their perspective, they must be monetizing it in some fashion, right? And if so, how does that sort of impact everybody and how they're feeling about the situation? It's like, there's, queer folks, trans folks in this, world here. But, there is a certain, I guess, a segment that has been advertised to and told that, the big new thing is, gender swapping every 12 hours or something like that. And so you have to have this particular type of equipment installed in your body in order to do that. So, you better go do that, and your self-identity, your self-actualization be damned, because you are now whatever it says on the clock that you are.
So yeah, that's way more of a thing than I want to get into. You can tell us if you want us to do a deep dive on queer themes in Cyberpunk 2077, because I'll do it.
All right. I would need to play it. So I'm always behind on video games, but for the show, I'd be willing to get something.
You have to play the PS5 or computer version. None of the other ones work properly.
Okay, yeah, I'd go with the computer version myself. So don't got a PS5.
My friend just downloaded it on his PlayStation 4, and he's like, "I thought they fixed this." It's like, not for you. Sorry. Anyway, I think that unless somebody wants me to talk about video game themes for another hour, it's time for the Galaxy's favorite game show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's favorite game show. Our various contestants are running around mostly on the ship this week, so it's been pretty easy to keep track of them, but as they've been going around their day, they've been, collecting their own points here. 24 hours of point collection, and so what ones do we want to hand out today? Well, let's kick it off with the TV Love Story Prize, which goes to O'Brien and Keiko, particularly due to the whole trope of last-minute wedding jitters causing a lot of stress and supposedly canceled wedding before it's all back on, just kind of randomly, and we don't understand what happened between point X and point Y here. Anyway, what do they win, Gaplin?
They win a full, actual traditional wedding, because obviously for the future stuff, it had to get truncated to be on the ship, so they only had time for the traditional wedding jitters. They didn't have time for the bridemaid freak out, the case of mistaken identity, the friend who actually was in love with the bride the entire time, the guy who snuck in and doesn't know anyone but just wants to sleep with all the bridesmaids. Like, there's a lot of traditions in a modern Star Trek human wedding.
Yeah, there needs to be a transparent window somewhere nearby that someone can pound upon and scream somebody's name upon, and there needs to be an instant where someone eats too much of the food at the reception, or there's a major disaster at the we call it the rehearsal dinner, and maybe there's a wedding singer who's having some issues, and then someone randomly dies, but like there's a whole bit of shenanigans where people are trying to cover it up until after the wedding so that the wedding doesn't get like held up and everything like that.
Yeah, the barber didn't even give O'Brien an unfortunate haircut.
Yeah. And, sure, it's Star Trek times. You can wave a magic wand and change the hair color like they did in the background there. But regrowing all your hair right away, well, that's going to take at least, 12 hours. And, well, even with future tech, well, we're going to have to delay the wedding until tomorrow. Anyway, let's go on to the next prize here. The human factor, which goes to Data for seemingly having a nervous feeling but not recognizing for what it is. Whoops, that might have been useful to bring up here. Anyway, what does he win, Gepwin?
Data wins an online support group where they get all of the androids. Because for some reason in this show it's just him and his brother, but they had the android women from original series and the android giant guy from original series.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people he could talk to about his experiences.
Yeah, there's like somewhere 500 copies of Harry Mudd's wife. She might be all talking smack to Harry there, but in terms of talking to Data, well, maybe they get along.
Yeah,
it's like,
she could take a break from torturing Mudd for. Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure he's still hanging around.
Yeah. If McCoy's able to hang around at this age, Harry Mudd can, unless he got himself shot. So, Data, go hang out with the other androids. They're out there. They might not be up to your specifications, but, they exist. Have fun. I can also talk to the one sphere people that were going to build the robot bodies for themselves. Maybe they've built some androids in the intervening time. Anyway, our last prize today is the Cold War Strategy Prize, which goes to Ambassador T'Pel, because, wait a moment, that isn't Ambassador T'Pel at all. That's Mrs. Hamilton from the TV movie Friendly Fire, and she's been working with the Romulans the entire time? What does she win?
Apparently she wins a weirdly specific deep cut. She wins a future episode in any of the continuation series where they finally go back and go, she was never a spy in the first place. She was always a double agent Vulcan pretending to be a Romulan.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, she found out that there was a Romulan agent seeking to replace her, took them out, and then, just continued to beat themselves until it was time to be, turned over to the Romulans, and then did it and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So that way Picard can have one moment like, wait a moment, one of my biggest mistakes was not actually a mistake, even though I was ordered to do it. Hooray!
I knew that all along.
Yeah. Turns out everything turned out okay. All right. Anyway, that's all I got for this week, Gepwin. Feel free to take us away.
Yes, thank you all for coming and joining us here on the Galaxy's favorite game show.
So, how was your day?
I know it was fine. Mostly talked about video games with people.
That works. Until I talked to you, I don't think I talked to anybody, well, except for my friend at lunch. But yeah, I was like, then I took a nap, and so it feels like it was yesterday when I talked to him.
So and, I haven't been paying attention to how many episodes we've been doing.
Uh-oh. What does that mean in terms of implications?
The implications are that we should have done a movie episode like 2 episodes ago.
Well, doing a little delay here is fine. We got so many episodes in a Star Trek season, and they've been kind of not exactly on the 10s and everything for us.
Yeah. So now I need to decide with my big wheel of movies that people can imagine that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly it's just because I haven't been thinking about it very much. But I do have a big list of every sci-fi movie I've thought of for the last 2 years.
Excellent. Well, you could random number it. You could, just vie with which one you think is right. You could, do the worst option, have me assign you one.
I think what I'm going to do is actually go with the last one that I randomly heard about, which I think is kind of funny, because just looking at this list, there's one that someone randomly mentioned on a thing I was watching yesterday. Because it is a 90s sci-fi movie, and the theme of the video was weird animated children's cartoons that they made out of 90s sci-fi movies.
So, this doesn't give you enough information to make an educated guess quite yet. But
I mean, it probably should, honestly, because I can't think of very many other cartoons that were made out of sci-fi 90s movies.
Yeah, but there's it's like, okay, well, for some reason my brain just keeps going back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's kind of not a complete thing that follows through for that logic.
That was also like a cartoon first.
Yeah, and before that was a comic books, and it was very like.
Well, I guess this was also
hardcore.
a comic book first.
Wait a moment, is it a adaptation of the Spider-Man cartoon?
No, though. I mean, I would probably want to wait until we'd have to think about how we felt about superhero stuff. But after the third one comes out, I really would not mind doing Spider-Verse.
Yeah, sort of a special event for Watches of Tomorrow, where we enter the Spider-Verse.
Enter the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Spider-Gepwin.
Spider-Isix. What would be our unusual spider powers as a result?
What are there unusual spider powers?
Yeah,
they all just stick to stuff and shoot webs.
Yeah. Sometimes they have little bit differences and things like that. Do they shoot the webs from their body or like devices? Things like that.
Yeah, I feel like I probably shouldn't go too hard into the spider stuff because I still have 2 living uncles.
Yeah, might want to avoid giving them troubles. Well, unless they suck.
So this was based on the comic book. It got turned into a cartoon. It might be a little bit too pertinent given America's current stance on immigration.
Wait, is this the last dinosaur?
Yeah. You got it. It's the animated cartoon featuring dinosaurs. We're back. Which does have some weird sci-fi themes because they like abduct dinosaurs and make them super smart for some reason.
Yeah, as you do.
Anyway, looking at my list, the last movie on here that I have actually randomly heard of for some reason is the 1990s classic sci-fi comedy, The Men in Black.
So that does actually remind me of how it all comes together here. So Men in Black, 1997, with that Will Smith guy and that Jonesy fella, doing their stuff, and it features Rip Thorne as Chief Zed, and a bunch of aliens are hanging out too, and also bugs.
Yep, bugs and alien things and future immigration.
A world of quirkiness and trying to integrate unusual entities and their cultures into human society, and then also someone trying to destroy everything. Normal stuff.
Or MIB, the multiple of a unit bit for digital information, according to Wikipedia. Anyway, next time we can do that. We can talk about immigration. Won't that be fun?
Yeah. And perhaps we'll solve all the problems involving immigration forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're promising you.
I know how to solve it. No one's going to listen to me.
Well, our solution involves getting people to listen to us, clearly, right?
Yeah, sure. Am I going to have to explain to people how open borders would fix all of our problems?
Yeah, I've seen a few folks actually advocating that. Like, here's that Zach Wiener's book. I am giving away copies of it because I want people to come to an agreement on this here. There's people out in the world that are trying to convince people of this, and well, more power to them. And so, yeah, let's start a campaign, Gepwin. Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, look right here and don't blink. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and listen to Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Digital Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Google Play, and many more places where podcasts can be found. If you enjoyed our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on YouTube as Gepwin and on Pillow Fort. You may find I, Dr. Isix, on YouTube and Blue Sky. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN, and Quirky Dog by Kevin MacLeod. Check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. You may also find Watchers of Tomorrow on Tumblr. Make sure to share the experience of Watchers of Tomorrow with your friends, loved ones, enemies, alien overlords, and your doppelganger from the mirror dimension. Have a good day, and ahead, warp factor heckin' fast.